Shut up and sit down.
Okay, tonight, welcome. We have Mrs. Smith. Now, this is a little bit different tonight because we're just going to have the tour dates up, and I'm going to let Mrs. Smith explain why, because I know that there's a lot of mystery around Mrs. Smith. So, welcome. Thank you very much for coming on tonight.
It's an absolute pleasure.
So, Mrs. Smith, I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, how did it all start?
I first started writing in the voice of Mrs. Smith for friends of mine. I'm a primary school teacher. I'm sort of writing in the voice of Mrs. Smith, so the silliness and the funny things that happen within school, just to make my friends laugh. And I actually wrote them down in a real proper notebook, which I passed, amongst my friends. And then after a while, more people wanted to read it within school. And I tried to put it, in various places, in a blog and on a Google Drive and whatever. And it just didn't seem to work or be accessible for people. So I then thought, well, that's all right. We're all women of a certain age and the odd man. I will stick it on Facebook. And in order to do that, I realised that actually some of the things, not what I was saying, but sometimes the language that I used to express myself, perhaps I didn't want my kids at school to know that it was actually me. So I set myself up with a different profile so that I was not linked to my own profile. Mm. So Mrs. Smith became a person in her own right, because she absolutely is. And that's how it started. So then I was posting online as in the voice of Mrs. Smith, being called Mrs. Smith. And suddenly I wrote one piece that went completely viral. And I went from having sort of 30 or 40 followers who I knew every single one of them, to now it's sort of almost 82,000 followers.
Wow. My God,
yeah,
I bet that took you by surprise. It must be easy then for you, as much easier, isn't it, to be able to be somebody else, to be able to write and to express yourself as somebody else. Do you find it really freeing being able to do that?
Yes, and I think there's a sort of there's an honesty to it. Mostly though, the people that I know really well within school, I would say to them what I would write online. But I think what's come out of it that's surprising actually is the fact that schools, whilst they're huge, can actually be quite isolating, because you're one on your own in the classroom with the children. You might have one other person with you, but you tend to be working very much with the children. And people have said, oh, I didn't realise that other people felt like that. Or I thought I was the only one. And that's what's been really incredible that's come out of doing this, that what I say is often, what Mrs. Smith says is often what other people want to say. And for whatever reason, either because they haven't got somebody to say it to, or they feel they can't say it, or they don't think anybody else would be interested, they don't say it. So she gets to say it and be a voice for other people, which is not what I intended. The intention was to give my mates a giggle. Yeah. And she's just morphed into something, many things quite different.
I've got to be honest with you, I have an educational background, so I completely and utterly get everything that Mrs. Smith says. I love her. I just think she's a hero to so many people, if I'm really honest with you. And obviously, I met you through the Funny Women comedy crash course, really, wasn't it? Yeah. It was stand up to stand out, and that was quite a long time ago now. Did you do that with the idea of maybe taking Mrs. Smith on tour?
Absolutely not.
No,
I did it.
What was that?
I did it because I just, I was taking Mrs. Smith's advice of, if there's something you've always fancied doing, why don't you go and do it? And the comedy crash course was absolutely brilliant because it was a women only space. And I quite like the idea of that, because in the comedy world, it's not a women-only space. It's very, very
yeah,
male dominated. And I knew that it wasn't. It was just it was a bucket list one. It wasn't a serious 6-week, very expensive course that would then give me the opportunity to stand on a stage and do my, 5 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I did it because I thought it would be good fun. I thought I would enjoy the afternoon out. And the 2 minutes that we got to do stand up was enough at that time. I just quite enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was a really good day. I implore people to check out Funny Women and just have a look, because they're still running that course, which is great. But after the back of that, do you feel it gave you a little bit of confidence to think, possibly?
Yeah, I didn't hate it, which I think was probably one thing. I think you either sort of stand up and think never again, or you think, oh, I quite like the fact that when I say something, people laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm used to, they're not necessarily an audience, and they're certainly not necessarily a willing audience at school, but I'm used to having an audience in front of me. So I'm used to having to manage a group of people and get them to listen to me. But no, I think off the back of that, I was invited. I think we were all sent an email and said, did we want to go to some comedy networking thing that was on a boat? In the, and it happened to be half term, and it was a Tuesday, and I thought, well, I can go. So I went to that, and I'd had 2 glasses of wine, and they said, would you like to do like an elevator pitch? And I just said, look, I write in the voice of this person. Any other suggestions as to what I could do? And no one said stand up, but a lot of people said writing. And I ended up with an agent who was interested in taking me on to perhaps write a book. Brilliant. So that's where it went to. I still haven't written the book, I have to say.
Are you not interested in doing that though? Because I mean, just the amount of posts that you do, that you talk about the end of your day, how your day's gone. And because there's such an audience of people who feel very much like Mrs. Smith, do you not feel that's a really good thing to do? Maybe publish the book?
Yeah. I mean, I would do. And it's not something we're sort of still saying no to. It's just that what happened was the agent who took me on in the... I think in the March, October. And then in the March, they said, look, at Edinburgh, we've got a venue and we've got accommodation. Do you fancy doing some stand-up? Like, as in, take a show to Edinburgh. Yeah. So this is, and I've done 2 minutes, okay? And I said, yeah, all right. So I then had to go away and write a show. And I this just makes my toes curl. I didn't do any work in progress. I just learnt it and I practiced it at home. And the first time I ever stood on stage was at the Edinburgh Festival.
Wow, what an introduction.
Yeah. And I did 4 shows over 2 days, and they all sold out, and the rest is history, really. I end up now going touring around the country.
Wow. I mean, it is quite a tour as well, and you've added new dates as well. Obviously people can see on the screen. That is just unbelievable. That, I mean, most people would be like, Edinburgh is your first ever stand on stage. I just think that really is, brownie points. I think gold star for you.
No, I think it's stupidity. I mean, it's arrogance and stupidity. I didn't actually realise what I was getting myself in for. And also, the people who came to see Mrs. Smith live wanted to see what she looked like.
Right, okay.
And wanted to know who she was. Yeah. And were going to be probably on my side unless I had really been dreadful. And I think that's partly it.
When you're talking in the way that Mrs. Smith does on stage, I just think so many people, sort of resonate with that. So I really can't see how you could possibly go wrong. Because it's just what you say. I think the swearing as well adds to it. It's like, yeah, right. That's
because there's a catharsis in swearing.
Because you can't in this classroom. You hold everything in. You've got to explode somewhere. And I think it's brilliant that you've got an outlet for that. But I've got to ask you, how do you balance the work and the tour? Because I mean, looking at your tour dates, you're still in school, it's
Yeah.
until you get to August, how are you finding that, balancing that, traveling around and doing the shows and being a primary school teacher?
I don't work full time, so
Right.
I job share a class. I mean, I'm still responsible for a class, so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
do supply or whatever, but I job share
Hmm.
with someone who's absolutely fantastic. And they are two very, very different things. Being in class is tiring in one particular way.
Yeah,
Being on stage is tiring in another particular way.
yeah.
But each of them are brilliant, and I sort of sometimes rethink my week. So I think, right, I work from Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday might be my weekend, and then my working week starts on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So then it goes back round. So I do a working week. My working week just looks different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how do you prioritize your material? Because you must have so much. Because kids
I
just keep giving.
yeah. My phone has that many either voice notes in it or sort of just written notes that I
Yeah,
just make myself notes, and then so sometimes it will be. I tend not to post things. I mean, I did today, but I tend not to post things that are something that's happened in that day, just because
yeah,
I don't want to be too recognisable. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's never the kids who are the butt of the joke.
No,
It's always me
yeah,
or another member of staff. It's not the kids, but I wouldn't want people to think that that's what it was. So I tend to sort of, and then if it's pertinent to a Monday, it might be that it's the following Monday that I post something on,
yeah,
because it doesn't
yeah,
matter which Monday it is. And then I just sort of, yeah, I just choose something, and then sometimes it's just what's made me giggle, really.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And what do you has been the response so far? I mean, to yourself seeing the sold out as they come in,
Yeah,
ticket sales and the response from people. I mean, obviously you were in Stoke-on-Trent, that's somewhere I used to live, lovely up there, and were at the comedy festival. So,
yeah.
what was the response from that? Do you get
It's,
much feedback?
yeah. I mean, I do, because it's really important to say thank you to people for coming out, because they've
Yeah,
come out and they spent money
yeah,
on coming to see me, and I sort of feel responsible that I want them to have really enjoy the evening. And also, there's that sort of a bit like group therapy, really. All of us, you've got 240 of us in a room laughing about the same things, and that's part of it, really.
yeah,
So I always say thank you, and often I'll get a comment that people really enjoyed it or whatever. And people will come and talk to me at the end, because I do remind people when I'm sort of about to get off the stage that earlier in the week I was in a staff room making myself a cup of tea, and
yeah,
it's the same as they were doing today,
yeah.
either today or earlier in the week. So please, I'm I'm them. I just happen to have been given the opportunity and said yes to the opportunities about getting on stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And you've humanized it, and
yeah,
that's, there's a connection in that. So,
so I want people to come and have a chat, really.
yeah, that's good. That's nice that you do, because then it's but you're quite specific, aren't you, about the no photography, quite rightly, because you want to protect Mrs. Smith.
Yeah,
Um and I think that's what I really like about the character. It could be anybody in our mind's eye who they know. It could be them in their own
yeah.
portrait. So that's what I like about Mrs. Smith. Um, Now I'm going to ask, what drives you mad the most, children or parents?
Ooh.
I'm gonna
Um,
I'm gonna be out there and say parents. I love the
yeah, I
kids.
would say it's not the children, and
No.
sometimes it's not the parents. What it is perhaps somebody not particularly, and this can be a child or an adult, listening to what was said
Yeah.
and assuming that something else has happened or not happened, um, and no one saying, yeah, but what did you do first?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
or really believing that somebody might have said something or done something
Yeah.
that is so out there
Yeah.
that they'd lose their job if they did. So,
Yeah.
let's be sensible about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I must admit, you saying, about what did you do, or what did you say? I've always said that to my kids. They said, you always blame us first. I said, well, I've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think you're absolutely right. And sometimes it's a social thing as well, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, it's social media is brilliant. Social media sometimes is a pain, and things can go on after school, and you have to walk into it maybe on a
Yeah.
Monday morning. Wow, hang on a minute, what happened there? So yeah, you have a lot to contend with, and I absolutely applaud you because I got out a few years ago. So, but what's the funniest thing that's happened to you in the classroom over your years of teaching and education?
Oh, we'd be here forever. I have to say, I did once ask a child to take that he needed to go for a wander, shall we say. He needed a movement break. He
Yep.
needed to go for a minute. For both our sakes, he needed to go. And I said to him, can you just take those meter sticks down and put them, outside where all the maths resources are? And he picked them up and he walked to the door, and then he turned round and he skied back across the classroom on the meter sticks. He did a really lovely turn and then skied out again. Yeah, that I have to say, we all just watched them go.
Absolute gems. And do you miss them when they move up a year? You know, if they leave the school, if you've been a year 6 teacher, for instance, and you've taken that class, when they go, do you really miss them?
Oh, it's like a bereavement.
It is, isn't it? That's the reason
It's
I asked you that, because the reason I left education is when my year 11s, I'd gone all the way up with them. When they got to year 11 and left, I couldn't bear it. I just
no,
couldn't bear it any longer,
it is
losing another year
because
group.
you're a family and you
Yeah,
work together, and
yeah.
you have fallouts like families do, and you get to know the children. We only have them for sort of 6 hours or whatever a day, but we still have them for when they're for that part of their day, and we get to know them really well, and you can, after a while sort of catch them before they get upset, or when someone's hungry or got a headache or whatever. You just know.
Yeah.
So when they move on, you've actually then got to start that relationship building again, because actually your classroom's not going to work unless those relationships are there.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And obviously a hive of material as well, which is fantastic for you. I'm really am pleased about that. But your tours that are up on screen at the moment, is there anyone particular that you're really looking forward to? Somewhere that you've maybe been before, you're looking forward to going back, or so a new venue that you've never seen before?
Well, I'm not been down so much in the sort of southwest. So I've Exeter and those areas. That's why I'm going down. I'm actually this weekend. I'm going down to Taunton and then Redruth.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually been down in that area. So I don't know what the schools are like down there, and I'm going to find out all about that.
Yeah.
So that'll be good fun.
Well, I'm Southwest, and I have to say it sounds exactly like your school. So I think you're going to have some really, really good audience members there who will be sympathising and agreeing with everything that you say. Oh dear. So what's next? What's after the tour? Have you looked into the future beyond the tour, or is that your focus for this year?
Yeah. So for this year, sort of finishing off this tour and then just writing another show. So to go again with different material.
Yeah.
And go from there. So I mean, I've got a show sort of probably, about a month's time, it'll be ready to do some previews and go from there.
Yeah.
And then the idea is probably to run the two concurrently, because they sort of one follows on from the other. So if I haven't been to somewhere, to do the first one, and then if I have been to somewhere, to do the second one. And people say, oh, how can you manage to do that? Well, I can probably teach for an hour off the back of an envelope, so I can manage to learn two shows.
Do you find that that's been quite helpful, being like a transferable skill as such, because...
Oh God, I could. I don't know that I could be funny, but I could do improv. Certainly. Because I do it all the time.
Oh, has any of your parents and children ever realised it's you or not?
A couple.
Yeah.
But they've kept the secret, and they're people who are in education anyway.
That's great. That's great to hear.
So they've kept the secret, and a couple have come and seen me, and they've been fine. So it's been okay.
Now, for anybody that has obviously not come across your Mrs. Smith social media and what have you, do you want to just let everyone know where they can find you, where they can get tickets for your tour, and anything else that you want to promote?
Mrs. Smith is almost exclusively on Facebook because, as my class would tell you, I am neither hip nor cool nor trendy. So Facebook is the place where I would be. If you just put Mrs. Smith in the Facebook search bar, you will come up with Mrs. Smith with a gold star next to her name, which of course is me. So that's the way to find me if you want to find me. Otherwise, if you Google Mirth Control and Mrs. Smith, and then you'll come up with the tour dates. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I will try and put a link on as well in the description for this as well for people, so that they can get to it as well, which is great. Just need to ask, do you use a red pen or have you gone green pen? We don't use red pens. No more. No red pens. It's green pens all the way. Is it right? Okay, yeah. That was starting to come in as I was leaving, so I just wondered if you were really old school or if you were gone green. No, green, definitely green. That's brilliant. Well, Mrs. Smith, thank you for having a chat with us today. Sorry, it's a quick one, but I thought it would be great to just hear you and just hear what you had to say and why it all came about, and also just to put your tour dates up there so that people can come along and come and see you. So fantastic. Have a fabulous weekend. It's Redruth at 17th on Saturday. Yeah, and there's also one that's been put in between there, so there's one in Taunton as well. But if you Google Mirth Control, they'll all come up. All the updated ones are on there. Yeah, that would be brilliant. Okay, so everyone go along, go and see Mrs. Smith, follow her Facebook page. Very, very funny. I even love all your reviews on there. I've even read all those. I think they're brilliant. It's people, you really are cherished by so many people. So well done, and we will hopefully catch up with you maybe when you've got your second tour. Yes, we'll have another catch up. All right, Mrs. Smith, thank you very much. Bye. Bye.
Shut up and sit down.